Me and my two friends went on a 3-day camping trip last year. I saw something that I wasn't supposed to see, and I'm not ready to go back there. You don't have to believe me, but I just need someone to hear my story so I can finally put this thing behind me. Here's my story. Day 1. The first day of our camping trip was everything I'd hoped for: long hikes, laughter echoing between the trees, and that fresh smell of pine that reminded me why we were out here, away from everything. Sam, Ben, and Lily were my best friends, and we'd been talking about this trip for months. 3 days in the woods, just us, away from work, responsibilities, screens. It was perfect. We'd chosen a spot deep within Pine Ridge, miles from any town. We'd seen maybe 2 other campers that day, but by evening it was just us, and the forest had gone dead silent. We set up camp near a clearing, with a thick wall of trees behind us and the fire casting a circle of light that felt safe, almost cozy, if you ignored how dark it was outside its glow. As the night crept in, the air grew colder and sharper, and I could feel a tension I couldn't quite place. At first, I chalked it up to excitement and maybe a bit of caffeine from the coffee I'd made right before we started hiking. Lily was the first to break the quiet. "Hey, who's got a good ghost story?" She grinned, eyes catching the light, looking around at the rest of us, daring us to break the peace. "Oh, I've got one," Ben said, rubbing his hands together like some villain in an old movie. "You all know about the Pine Ridge Witch, right?" The rest of us chuckled, but I noticed how Ben's eyes had gone wide, almost theatrically so, as he leaned closer to the fire. "They say she lives deep in these woods. That if you walk alone at night, you might see her pale face in the shadows, watching you. And if you're unlucky, she'll follow you back to camp. She's been around since the first settlers, they say, bound to the woods by some old curse." "Ben, that's ridiculous." Sam threw a twig into the fire, and it snapped with a spark, casting strange shapes onto the trunks around us. But there was something in Ben's voice, a kind of tremor, like he almost believed his own tale. We laughed it off and settled into a comfortable silence, each of us sipping our drinks and watching the fire crackle. That's when I heard it. A faint rustling in the underbrush, maybe 15 feet behind me. I turned, expecting to see a rabbit or maybe a fox, but the darkness swallowed everything past the firelight. The noise stopped, but the silence that followed was even worse. It felt wrong, like something was watching us. My skin prickled, and I felt the need to break the quiet. "You guys hear that?" They all stopped, listening, but after a beat, Sam shrugged. "Probably just an animal. Nothing out here except squirrels and raccoons, maybe a deer if we're lucky." He tried to laugh, but it came out forced. I could tell he was unnerved too. But then it happened again, louder this time, like someone, or something, was moving, a deliberate step in the leaves. I gripped my flashlight, sweeping it over the trees. "Maybe I should check it out." Sam gave me a look. "Or, maybe you shouldn't." The thought had just formed when I saw it, a shape in the darkness, still and silent, but unmistakable. It was me, standing just outside the fire's light, partially hidden by the trees. For a second, I thought I was seeing my own reflection, a trick of the fire and shadows. But the face, it was too pale, too motionless. My stomach dropped, and the light shook in my hand as I stared, transfixed. "James, what's up?" Ben called out, but his voice was faint, far away. I couldn't look away from the figure, from myself. I took a step back, my foot crunching in the leaves, and just like that, it was gone. No sound, no movement, just vanished. Ben and Sam didn't believe me, and it annoyed me. They knew I wasn't the type to joke about this stuff. Nevertheless, we had to go to bed. I just wasn't sure if I was seeing things or if this thing was real. I really just wanted Ben and Sam to believe me so we could go home.